And let's get started. So welcome to this Exactly What to Say for Accounting Professionals workshop. This is the first of a couple of workshops we're going to do this year for people that own the Exactly What to Say for Accountants book that we are inviting to join these Zoom calls. Now, Carlos and I, my brother Carlos and I, I'm Hector Garcia, it's Carlos Garcia. We created an organization called Reframe. And Reframe is eventually three things for everybody that wants to interact with Reframe. It's an annual event. The next one's in Miami in November 2015. That's a big event, 150 plus accounting professionals. There's a Reframe Society, which is a monthly mastermind. And it's a way for you to interact with us and with other reframers all year long. And then there is a US tour that we're putting together. We're still working on specific venue and dates, which will be mini sessions of the annual event. So that's what we got for 2025. We have a big event in November. We have Reframe Society, that's monthly, that kicks off in January, and a US tour that will be some time between May and June for 2025. So I hope to see you in any of those. So there's two versions of the book. There's the original edition of Exactly What to Say. I think everybody that's live in this Zoom doesn't, I mean, some might have it, but most people will have the accounting edition. But if you're watching this recording afterwards, this is a book that you can get in Amazon for like anywhere between $10 and $20. It's amazing. It's one of the best sales books that I have ever read. Carlos, the same, is what encouraged Carlos to go out and get certified as a certified guide. But later on, as we started designing our conference, we wanted to feature the content of Exactly What to Say adapted to accounting professionals. And you have the purple and pink edition of the book. You may, the people watching live, you may have a copy of this book. And if you bought the kit, we have an implementation kit. It comes with an implementation guide, which is a multi-page guide that contains a step-by-step for accounting professional examples, except step-by-step how you use each magic word within the context of tax, accounting, bookkeeping, that sort of thing. And then part of the kit as well, we include the role play cards, which is for you to practice with your firm, with a friend, with yourself. What's interesting, you could also use the role play cards to practice by yourself. You can use the role play cards to maybe practice with ChatGPT, that sort of thing. And then we're going to do a quick workshop to kind of show you how this stuff works live. So whether you're watching this, the recording afterwards, and you have a copy of the book for accounting edition or not, you probably should at least get a copy of the original book. But if you're an accounting professional, bookkeeper, tax preparer, accountant, auditor, whatever, you probably want the accountant's edition because we've built a lot of work around that. Okay. Carlos, myself, and Phil Jones, we actually did a whole presentation about this back in 2024 in October in Miami as part of our Reframe conference. Okay. And so if you don't happen to have a copy of the book and you want to get the kit, you can get the implementation kit with all those three items that we mentioned, and you can get the virtual course as well. If you're part of the Reframe Society, you get access to the virtual course as well. We'll talk about that later on. So let's start with, well, Carlos, you want to add anything else before we jump into the content?
No, I think you got it straight up. I would just say that, the author is someone who is a master in communication. Hector said that this is the best sales book he ever read, but I would actually challenge that it's the best communications book you'll ever read, because this is not just about selling. This is about how to be a better communicator, how to be more influential in the moments that count the most, and not just in your business, but in your personal life, with the people that are closest to you, so that you can build better relationships. And if you are a leader in your firm and you have team members that you want to help them show up better, and you want to communicate your intentions with more preparation and more intentionality, I would highly encourage that you also consider incorporating this language in those type of conversations. So this is not just a sales book. This is just a universal communications book and how to be a more impactful and influential communicator. That would just be my only add, Hector.
That's perfect. And so within the context of accounting professionals, so bookkeepers, tax preparers, accountants, CPAs, whatever, I want to set up the premise that really being really good at communicating your services is sort of the preface of being able to price your services well. Okay. And then pricing your services well is the preface of having a profitable practice. And a profitable practice is the preface of you having most likely a happy life as an individual. And having a happy life is the preface of you enjoying the work that you do. And enjoying the work that you do is a preface to really want to add value to your customers, which is the preface of your customers growing and getting huge returns of investment from your work, which is a preface of them paying you more money so you can increase your services and having all a positive cycle. And because communications is so important, it's also important to challenge concepts that we might not, that we kind of see them as like a fundamental truth. But when you see them on this other point of view, which is what I want to show you, it helps you change and reshape your thinking. So as accounting professionals, we do not sell tax preparation and tax filing. As accounting professionals, we do not sell financial statement preparation. As accounting professionals, we do not sell bookkeeping services. As accounting professional, we do not sell payroll or payroll support or payroll preparation. As accounting professionals, we don't sell business formation and business structures. As accounting professionals, we don't sell accounts receivable and accounts payable management. We don't sell advisory and consulting services. We don't sell budgeting and cash flow planning. Even though every one of our competitors sounds like they sell that. Again, trying to set the point that you watching this, you are a reframer. Okay, you're someone that wants to work differently. You want to stand out against the crowd. You want to save this profession from all the craziness from AI, etc. And you want to be the most human professional that your customer has ever interacted with, ever, to the point that they could never, ever see a computer, a system, a competing accountant, an AI as being able to replace you. Therefore, we don't sell tax preparation, financial statement preparation, bookkeeping, payroll. We don't sell that. What do we sell? Okay, so if we don't sell that, what do we sell? We sell a feeling. We are actually in the business of creating a feeling for our customers. If we do that, we stand out. We are different. We rebrand our profession. We reframe what it means to be working with the best human professional possible, the accounting professional. And that feeling, really, it's an outcome that is hard for us to define until we have a deep communication, a deep conversation with our customers. What are we really selling? We're selling things our customers feel, like peace of mind, confidence to make quick decisions, becoming a better business person, securing a legacy for their family, freedom to make an impact in their communities. That is what we should be selling. What about things they can measure? Tax savings, reduce expenses, increase sales, more profitable activities, or helping them get into more profitable activities, time savings, risk mitigation. So we sell a combination of things the customer can calculate, can measure, like tax savings, reduce expenses, increase sales, profitable activities, time savings, risk mitigation, and things that only they can feel, or things that they want to feel, right? Peace of mind, confidence, becoming a better person, better business owner, legacy, freedom. But what does the customer really want? Okay, so we know what we're supposed to be selling, but what does the customer really want? It's very simple. They want to move away from a current undesired state into a desired future state. Our customers want to move, okay? They want to move from stressing about taxes to not stressing about taxes, from paying penalties for not prepaying taxes all year long to prepaying taxes all year long and not paying penalties, from not trusting their QuickBooks to trusting their QuickBooks, from not knowing what the tax bill is going to be, from exactly knowing what the tax bill is going to be, from from not feeling confident about whether they have enough staffing requirements to feeling confident about who they're going to fire and who they're going to hire. Okay. That little shift of understanding what the current undesired state to shift to a desired future state requires a conversation. You cannot imply that. You cannot read that on the website. You cannot truly understand it from one email or a 5-minute conversation or from their self-assessment of their problem. Because many times our customers come to us self-diagnosed to say, hey, I made a mistake on last year's tax return. I need you to amend it. How much do you charge? And if you think you're in the business of amending tax returns, then you're going to have a transaction. But there is an undesired current state, which is they're uncertain about something that could come down, right? Some problem that could come down from the mistake on the tax return, and they want to move from uncertainty to certainty. So we're going to jump into some examples, but Carlos, you want to jump in and add anything?
I think clients also show up because they're indecisive. They're indecisive because they don't know what decision to make. Making big decisions, and in the world of tax and accounting, big decisions are scary, right? We make decisions every single day, and some of these decisions are not that big. So subconsciously, it's easy for us to be able to make these decisions. But when a client is thinking about changing their accountant, changing, a strategy around tax, change overall is scary, right? Making the decision to change requires like a lot of future fear of what could go wrong. And so this fear and anxiety is typically what stops them from making the decision. So our role as business professionals who specialize in solving a very specific problem for this specific type of client requires that we help them navigate the decision-making process and make them feel good about making that decision. So our other role is to help them get to a place of comfort, being comfortable with making the decision. But we can only do that if we can stay curious, understand the context of their situation, understand what is their current undesired state, understand what their future desired state is, and make sure that we're adding value everywhere in between with the way that we navigate the conversation, and we facilitate that in an elegant and professional manner. So it's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about what I can get from the client. It's how I can serve the moment and how I can serve the client. And so the focus of that is the critical component that's going to help you build or break relationships with your customers.
Awesome. And so with that being said, that was a really brief introduction. Now we're going to make the assumption that you read the book, and then we're going to jump right into, so we're going to make a whole hop. So that was a full introduction. Now we're going to make a full hop to, you already read the book, and so let's talk about some examples as workshop, how we can have the most challenging of conversations. So I polled about 100 accounting professionals, and I asked them, what are the most awkward, difficult, undesirable, critical, challenging conversations you have with your current clients, with your prospects, and with your teammates. Now, I'm only going to talk about clients and prospects because we just don't have time to do all of them. So let's go through all the clients. And I want you to kind of read these and then tell me which of these resonate the most with you, or if you have another one that maybe wasn't listed here, go ahead and put it in the chat. So very critical conversation is client is being unresponsive with uploading the documents. Sometimes they're being responsive, but they keep uploading the wrong thing. So either one of those work. The second one is scope creep, the customer crossing boundaries. Not when it wasn't clear, when it's clear, because those are actually two different type of scope creeps. One scope creep is when the client doesn't know it's not included and is asking you for it. That's actually totally fine. But when they know it's not included and then they ask for it, that's when the conversation gets critical, right? And of course, the big challenge is if the customer didn't know that it wasn't included, you got to go back and fix your sales process, set the expectations from the beginning, et cetera, et cetera. But we're talking about customer clearly crossing boundaries. Then we have you having to deliver bad news. So we screwed up, we filed late, you lost money on this project, you're not going to be able to get the financing you're looking for. You did pay me to prepare financial statements, but it looks like you didn't make any money, or whatever it is, right? You're delivering bad news. Next one is a third party involved. This happens a lot. Made an error, maybe maybe the CPA, maybe the bookkeeper, maybe an IT person, maybe the QuickBooks trainer, and maybe whatever. And that error is seeping over to our work, and our customer kind of feels that we're part of the problem, and we're gonna have to have this critical conversation, not with just with our customer, but potentially with 2 or 3 people. It's a triangle of people we're gonna have conversations with. Then we have annual price increase conversations, or maybe increasing due to a significant change of the work, change of the scope. Having a conversation with the client because someone in your team dropped the ball somewhere, right? Forgot to add something, forgot to add a document or whatever. This could be a team member, it could be a vendor, it could be a partner, right? Like Intuit, QuickBooks drops the ball all the time. A QuickBooks breaks, right? And we have to have that awkward conversation. Our employee drops the ball. Somebody we subcontracted, somebody they subcontracted that we're working with, drop the ball. All these sort of things. A customer that doesn't want to take your advice. You keep telling your customer, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this, and they seem to do the opposite. And you kind of have to have the critical conversation, because you can't stand continuing to work with this client after they continuously do the opposite of what you asked them to do. What about customers that tell you, I need this yesterday, I need this ASAP. If I can't get them by today, insert X generic catastrophe here, right? I'll lose my business, I'll lose my money, I won't be able to make payroll, whatever it is, right? And the customer blaming you for a mistake you didn't make. And like they clearly think you made it. You have the proof that you didn't make it, but it's a critical conversation nonetheless, because you have to have it in such a way where you don't make the customer feel stupid or dumb for making that mistake, or changing billing methods or payment terms. So we'll stop there. We're going to talk about prospects in a second. I would like for you to put in the chat if any of these strikes you as the most critical, difficult conversation, or is there another one that you think shows up quite a bit? And Carlos, I'll let you add anything as people put the information in the chat.
I would just reinforce your question. I'm curious, which one of these stands out to you the most? Which one of these show up the most in your world?
Okay, somebody put all of them. Yeah, that is funny. It's very true. And the funny thing is, when we got the answers, this was an open-ended answer. It was just tell me what they are. It wasn't like a multiple choice. I threw them into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT organized them for me. And I said, just give me the top 10 that resonate the most. It was these. But when we present this type of concepts, I know Carlos did this recently to a bunch of tax preparers in Dallas, and I did it recently to a bunch of bookkeepers in Miami. And almost always people say all of them, LOL, right? Because it just seems like this is like the everyday thing. Like if you could go back in time and tell your young self, you're starting your accounting practice, what are the things that I want to learn how to manage the most? You probably would take these things and go back and give yourself those tools. So Lacey says client unresponsive and scope creep. Laura is saying unresponsive client and annual price increase. Stephanie says all of them, but mostly scope creep and increasing prices. Melanie says scope creep, and there's a whole bunch more, but we'll stop there. Thank you. So it sounds like scope creep, it's probably the most common that we mentioned out of all the all of these, and the price increase. So Carlos, we'll probably do some examples on that.
Hector, can I share a quick insight?
Yep.
About unresponsive clients? So, part of what I do is I help people build workflows and communication templates. And one of the things that I've observed about accountants and CPAs and bookkeeping, professionals is that they have to be extremely thorough with everything that they do. They have to read through dot every I and cross every T, which means that they have to have the propensity to read a lot more content. So what I have noticed is that they communicate the way they consume information to clients. So just a good self-reflection moment. If you think your clients are going to read a 57 bullet point email, if you're not being responsive because your email has 57 bullet points, maybe that's a start. Start simplifying your communication and making it as short and as simple. And sometimes that's hard to do. But one quick hack of how to make clients more responsive is to make things easier for them to read. Because there's the attention span that we have of people in today's world is so short, and it's so hard to condense important and thorough information in this world. But just an insight that came to me, because something I noticed a lot, is that the way we communicate is the way we expect clients to have the attention span that this industry has, when the truth is that they don't. So just a thought.
Carlos, that hits home a lot. And first time I hear you say that insight, by the way, thank you, because I actually never thought of it that way. You know, part of it is we want to be able to go back and say, the email I sent you on December 3rd has it. You know, like we want the emails to be so thorough and so complete. And part of it might be a little bit of that CYA portion of like our work. Like we're trying to like make sure that we don't get blamed for something that to go wrong. So we make sure that these emails are jam-packed with information about deadlines and ifs and buts and what could go wrong. And what ends up happening, you're 100% sure what ends up happening is that it's got the opposite effect. We thought that over communicate, like no one's ever, you know, like there's this concept that says that we get to feel that no one's ever been hurt by over communication. And it's possible that over communication has never been a net negative. But I think what over communication does is essentially becomes no communication, because someone will will open the email, we'll see that it's 3 pages long and go, oh God, Hector sent me the long email. All right, I'll get to it. And then what happens is they don't get to it, not because they're bad or malicious, it's because it drops off the first page of their Gmail and they never look at it again. So many times, and thank you for letting me know that, I think I just realized part of my problem is that I try to make them so long and complete and thorough so I can cover my butt about having communicated that thing before the end of the year or whatever, that they end up just not reading it. And it happens to me too. When I get long emails from customers, I put them off, and then they forget about them. I wasn't not trying to read them. I just put them off because at the moment, it just felt like too much.
And just one last thing. In my sales process, my client communication after I have a discovery call is a very short email, and all it has is 3 bullet points, 3 steps. Step 1, log in here. Step 2, sign. Step 3, make a deposit, and we'll get started. And 68% of the time that I send a proposal, people sign it, which means that, 32% of people don't want to do business with me or drag their feet, but that's pretty high. It's a pretty high number. But I think a lot of it's because I made it simple for people to do business with me. So just think about like where in your processes, whether it's onboarding a client or you're trying to collect documents, or you're in a different stage of a tax return workflow where you're trying to get them to move, where can you make it easy for them to do it?
So what you're saying is boil everything down to 3 steps.
That's it, 3.
That's interesting.
If you can make everything a 3 bullet point email, your life will be, at least 68% of the time, your clients will respond. This is based on my current hypothesis.
So let's do a specific example. I'll stop sharing here for a second. So we'll do a specific example that that Laura's putting here and Amanda's putting here, very similar, which is, we send our customers this big list of uncategorized transactions, a list of 27 uncategorized transactions. And the customer opens it and goes, oh, whoa, that's a lot, and they go, I'll get to it, and they never get to it. So how would you turn an email that has 27 uncategorized transactions into like a 3-step? I mean, I have some ideas, but I would love to ask you first what your thoughts are.
I think initially is make the information easy to consume. So could you put it in a Excel spreadsheet? And then if there is a prioritization of level of importance around what information needs to be, they need to know that is essential. If all of it is essential, then all of it's essential. I think putting a specific deadline and then putting a specific consequence.
Okay, Laura seems to think that the spreadsheet itself could even be intimidating, maybe because the customer has to go open a spreadsheet and do things to a spreadsheet and save it and then attach it. So, what I'm thinking is maybe with this whole 3-step idea is, I would do step 1 is find 20 minutes to work on this project for me. So I would say, Mr. Customer, step 1, I need you to find 20 minutes of uninterrupted time to work on this, end the month closing for me by Friday of next week, whatever. Step 2, you're gonna print the list of transactions I'll give you, and then write down next to each one what you think you paid with it. So, and if you don't know, just put don't know. Step 3, scan the paper, mail it back to me. And like, doesn't have to be paper.
Sure.
Like, it could be open up this Google Sheet, put it on this field, send it back to me, open up OnCat, open up Keeper or whatever. But I think the 3 steps could be like that. Step 1, find 15 minutes of quiet time to work on it. I think that might be
well, setting expectation of how much time it's going to take
Yes.
is helpful, right? Because then it doesn't feel as difficult to get that done. And then all they just need to do is look at their calendar and protect the time. So that's a great point.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't think we do that enough. I'm picturing myself giving even my employees tasks, and I always say, go do this. And I think that if I say, hey, this would probably take you 45 minutes and I need it done by Tuesday, it just feels a lot less intimidating than just saying, here's this big uncertain ball of something, grab it and don't drop it. Like, that's just a lot to take. And I think that piece of insight is really valuable. Okay, let's move on to prospects now. So we're talking about selling, okay? So what critical conversations happen during the sales process? Well, one, I think the biggest one, I probably, with every single role play I've done with other accounting professionals, where everybody freezes, is when the prospect starts with, what's your hourly rate? Before we start talking, what's your hourly rate? I need a new accountant. What's your hourly rate? I need my tax returns done. What's your hourly rate? So feels like that's just the first thing that just makes people, like, it just kind of gets people out of base. So we'll discuss that one. That's a really important one. Second one is similar but slightly different, which is the customer wants you to give them a fixed price, or in some cases a price range, which obviously price ranges are obviously the worst, by the way, because no matter what 2 numbers you say, they always anchor on the smaller number. So it really doesn't matter if you give price ranges or not. They're always going to be, oh yeah, we're a smaller company. So you tell somebody, yeah, that would be between 1,000 and 2,000. They almost always say, but we're a small company, so we're most likely to be on the low range. Like customers will always find a way to try to cling themselves into the smaller area. So whether the customer wants a range or a fixed price, that tends to be a critical conversation if they want to do this prior to a real discovery call or a diagnosis. Or in the case of, so I know some of you charge for diagnostics. I charge for diagnostics. Carlos charges for diagnostics. The prospect doesn't want to pay for a diagnosis and they expect a free consultation. They may say something like, well, so-and-so does a free consultation, or the ProAdvisor website says free consultation, or, how am I going to pay to know how much I'm going to pay for? I mean, how am I going to pay prior to know how much my services are going to cost? So that's usually, and it requires a lot of re-education. That's part of the critical conversation. The other one is the customer already in the middle of a sales call is asking technical questions or detailed questions, tax questions, and they expect you to solve it beforehand, or they expect you to answer or solve that as part of proof that you're good enough to work with them, okay? So that's something that's usually a very critical conversation to pivot away from that. Prospects, you're saying, let me think about it, right? Like, obviously not saying yes or no. I like no's more than let me think about it, right? Because no's are decisive. Okay, let me think about it tends to usually waste a lot of time for both people. So that's actually not good for anybody. Prospect is dragging their feet on signing the proposal. They showed tons of positive feelings towards working with you. They were excited. They agreed on the price, but they haven't signed the proposal or make the first payment. A customer says something like, you're too expensive, right? And the reason why this was so critical is because most of us take too expensive as an insult, right? Where we feel the customer saying you're not valuable, right? Because essentially that's what too expensive means, right? It means you're not valuable. But they're not trying to tell you you're not valuable. They're saying the words that are coming out of your mouth are not valuable enough for me to part away with the amount of money that you're asking for. Okay, that's exactly what they're saying, right? The words coming out of your mouth are not valuable enough. So it's not you who's not valuable if you haven't said the thing that they're looking to hear. And there are misfits, right? There are customers that are never going to be a fit to work with you, and you will never be a fit to work with a certain customer, and those are okay. But for those that feel like they're a good fit, when they say you're too expensive, it hits home the hardest, and it tends to get us out of our base. Anybody asking for a discount, especially for those that get rattled by discounts. I mean, some people say, sure, 10% or whatever. Like some people just are comfortable with giving discounts or saying, no, no discounts. But for a lot of people, it just feels awkward because guess what? I ask for discounts. I ask for discounts in many scenarios. So I never think of myself as a lower being, right? Or a lesser person for asking for a discount. So and a lot of your customers don't. A lot of times they just ask to see what happens, right? You won't get what you don't ask for, right? Or I forget what the expression is, Carlos.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, if you don't ask, you don't get. So like it's totally normal for them to ask for a discount. Just don't get rattled by it, right? Just have an answer. You can setting high expectations prior. This is the thing. A lot of accounting professionals know the expectations they must set, but they're afraid of setting them because the customer hasn't said yes yet. So they feel that setting the high expectations, especially expectations you have from them, feels that it's going to scare them and they won't sign the proposal or they won't agree. So that's a very critical conversation because many times we forget to set those expectations. The other one is upselling your services, right? So the customer asks for a tax return and that's all they ask for. But you are saying, no, you need a tax return, you need tax planning, you need to revise your books every quarter. We need to talk about cash flow. Like adding more things to it is something that's usually a net positive for our customers, but we tend to feel that it's a salesy thing.
Hector, can you go back for a second? I want to share the second to last bullet point. This is kind of, and it kind of goes back to the you're too expensive objection. So I had a conversation with someone about engaging with me for a one-on-one coaching. And they're like, I want to work with you. And I asked them questions. What is it you're looking to accomplish? Well, I need more clarity and accountability around X, Y, or Z. And, last year I have all these ideas in my head and I need to get them out of my head and into paper and then from paper to execution. And, I want to stop being in the business. And so all these things are going on. And eventually at the end of the conversation, I say, well, the way that I see it is you have three options so we can work. And all I did was communicate the first option. And the first option was the highest anchored one because I knew what this person needed. I did a really, thorough job at planning and asking the right questions. And I didn't even bother to offer option 2 and option 3. They said yes to the first one right away. But I set some really, really high expectations up front around how to make that successful. So I sometimes think, Hector, could you share the screen again, please, so I could read the second to last bullet point, where it says setting high expectations might make us feel like we're going to turn them off. Sometimes setting high expectations, it's what helps you elevate the perception of value from their eyes. Because you're creating a lot higher standards and expectations, the other person that's looking to work with you is saying, wow, this person has high standards and expectations. Now I see why they're worth what they're worth, because they actually have boundaries, because they recognize their worth. So it actually creates kind of a counteractive effect. At least that's somewhat of an observation that I've made, is that when I become very firm about certain things, I think I receive a lot more respect because of it and because I'm willing to back it up. And now that also means that I'm ready to accept the reality that some people don't want that level of accountability or don't want that level of high standards or high expectations. And that's okay. Those people might not be the clients for me. And then for those of you who are listening to this, that's a good self-reflection as well. Hector, you're on mute.
Also, I think that some people want to be in the high expectation club. Think about that. when you get invited to a wedding, the invitation will say formal or business casual or all black attire or tie or whatever. Even though if you feel like it would be the same example here, you feel like, oh, they're not going to show up because I'm making them dress up or whatever. It's actually the opposite. People are like, oh, cool, a dress up party, cool, a formal party, cool, a place where people will look pretty and upkept and it would be treated as such. And a wedding where you require black tie or whatever would be significantly different. I'm not saying it's gonna be more fun or less fun, as one where you can go whatever you want. You know, you could walk around with a beer can and wear flip flops or whatever. It's just gonna be a different thing, and the expectation sets the mood. It sets the stage. So to tell people, because we want to respond to our clients within 48 hours, and that is our guaranteed process, you have to ask your questions through the portal. So think about the difference between, saying, Mr. Customer, bad news, you can't text me questions, you can't email me questions, you have to use my annoying software in the portal to ask questions, versus because we have high standards and high performance in our delivery, all of our customers are expected to behave this way, and this way, so they can get a predictable guaranteed outcome A, B, and C. People understand that. People get that. And people appreciate that. Some people don't. And some people won't. And it's better to get those out or not get them in, because typically it is the one customer that makes you change the process just for them that throws off your entire process for everyone else.
Just a final thought. When you elevate your standards, you're giving him, your client or potential client, an opportunity to elevate their status. You're leveling them up. You're giving them a chance to level up. You're giving them that FOMO of saying, I want that accountant. I want that person, because they hold themselves to such a high standard. I aspire to hold myself to that level of standard.
Yeah.
It's leadership. It's actually leadership.
Same thing translates to every single person watching this or listening to this. Is if I help you through some of these ideas or some of these thoughts, elevate your own standard, you're gonna elevate your client's standard. So your client's gonna be a better business owner. You're gonna be a better business owner. Your client's gonna make more money. You're gonna make more money. We at Reframe, we attract more forward-looking accounting professionals. So it's all a domino effect of keeping standards high. So in the chat, which of these resonate with you the most with communications with prospects in terms of what are challenging conversations, critical conversations, or do you have any other with prospects that that you think are the most challenging or difficult questions to have? Put it in the chat so we can discuss it. So Mike says, definitely the what's your price conversation. He put that in all caps. Mary says, let me think about it. Yeah, that is a tough one. A few people are saying here, you're too expensive. You're too expensive. Yeah, that's a tough one.
We had Stephanie say cringe when you said, what's your price? So that's the feeling that we get, right? When someone asks us about that.
Lacey says, asking technical questions in the middle of a sales call, right? Or feeling salesy when you're trying to upsell, that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's go to let's do basically a quick role play, Carlos. Let's go back to the biggest one that we had, which maybe was scope creep. And maybe Carlos will use one of the perspective changers. So Carlos and I, in front of us, have the role play cards. Okay. And we only took out what's called the perspective changers, which are, how would you feel if, what do you understand? What's your experience? How certain are you? If then, just imagine, when was the last time? How important is it? And could it be possible? So Carlos, do you want me to be the accountant or do you want to be the accountant?
Yeah, I'm happy to be either. You let me know.
Okay. Do ask me for ask me to maybe to amend the tax return that's not included in the service, right? Like I forgot to add a particular item in my expenses, and I need you to amend my tax return. I want to do it ASAP so I can get my fees down or something like
Now,
that.
Hector, would you say that this happens via email most of the time, or is it a phone call or a text message? In what format will it happen?
Let's say this was a phone call.
Okay. Okay. Hey, Hector.
Hey Carlos, how are you?
Good, thank you. I wanted to ask you a favor. There was something that wasn't included in my tax return that I just got across my desk, and I wanted to see if you can make an adjustment so that we make sure that we do everything accurately. Do you think you could do me that quick favor?
Sure. Now I want to make sure that we don't make a mistake like missing other things as well. It looks like we missed a line item from your tax return. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions about that if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay. First question is what exactly was missed?
Well, I think I got married in the in the last few weeks, and I my I have a new spouse, and so I need to add her. I want to see if I could add her as a joint instead of
Sure.
a
Sure. That's a big
single.
congratulations. I didn't know you got married. Um, what why do you think we missed that? I wonder did you get a chance to look at the checklist that we sent? Why do you think we missed it?
Honestly, I was so caught up in so many things that it totally just an overlook on my end.
Okay. How important is it that we get that done ASAP or versus waiting until after we're done with the busy season?
Um, I guess I would need to understand what's the consequence of not doing it, but I guess based on that, I would figure out how important it is. For now, I think it's very important, but I don't know based on your advice.
Sure. What's your experience with amending tax returns in the past?
I don't think I've ever done it before. You've done them for me. I think we did it once, I remember, and I think you took care of it for me.
Right. And how certain are you that you have to include it in your return? Because I haven't seen her return, so I'm not sure how she filed.
I don't know. I think I would come to you for that advice.
Okay. How would you feel if we do a full diagnostic with you and your wife, and we take a look at not just the amended work, but take a look at her last tax return to make sure that we have a correct continuation?
Is that going to cost extra?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Yeah. So
What's that going to be?
yeah, so you paid $750 for the tax return, and usually for an amendment, we charge 50% of that. So it would be $375.
Mm, okay. All right. Well, let me think about it.
Okay. Could it be possible that we can set before we're talking about the price? Could it be possible that we talk to your wife real quick? Because I'm actually concerned that that if we didn't include her in your return, that she might have missed something on her return too. So could it be possible we set up a meeting with her just so I can ask her a couple questions as well?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And if I can guarantee that we get the return, this amendment done, and it's 100% accurate by taking our time, then do you think it would be valuable for you to pay the 375?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. How would you feel if we get it done by Friday? If we can talk tomorrow night?
Okay, that works.
That's it. So simple. So like there was no salesmanship. It was simply just keeping control of the conversation. Well, so which magic words did I use, Carlos?
You had what I think you had what is your experience with doing amendments? We had how would you feel several times. It was a very good one, right? Future, emotional, desired state. How important is it to you to help me self-assess scale of 1 to 10? Is this urgent or is it just like a whim type of thing? I think you use the if then, that conditional close, just to kind of make me feel that I can commit to something. You had a could it be possible scenario. And how certain are you? I think
when
you
did I
use more.
use and when did I use could it be possible? I used it as the single most important piece, which is in response of let me think about it. Okay.
Mhm.
Like an amendment is a situation of high anxiety. The customer obviously So most customers would say, of course, I screwed up, 375, I'll pay for whatever the number is. I'll pay for it. Let's move. Like most customers would do that. This particular customer was not expecting this to have an additional cost. And that additional cost gave him a shock. And instead of him asking why or should, like Carlos actually chose not to be the type of customer that immediately fights for it or saying it could be free. He went the route of kind of think about it. Maybe even I missed the opportunity of picking up that signal and maybe trying to learn more about what is there to think about, right? Like, so let's try that again, Carlos. Ask me about the price, and then let me think about it.
Okay, so let me go ahead and think about it and get back to you.
Okay, Carlos, just so you know, most accounting firms actually charge more than the price of the tax return to do the amendment. We actually, for our preferred customers, we only charge 50% of it, because we know that you didn't do this mistake on purpose. You just missed it. So we try to help our customers out by making it half the price of what a normal return would do. Just out of curiosity, what is there to think about? That you told me that this is kind of urgent.
I just need to get back with her to see what we need to do together to see if we should move forward or not, and I better understand did she file or not. I don't think I came as prepared as I thought I was for this call, so
okay,
I'm
but
a little bit overwhelmed.
Carlos, answer something like I don't think I should be paying for this.
Oh yeah, I don't think I should be paying for this.
Well, Carlos, I'm gonna assume for a second that it doesn't cost anything for us to do the extra work of doing the amendment for you. Let's assume that for a second. How quickly do you want that done?
As soon as possible, since we're on 2023's tax return.
Good. So it is important for you to get this done and to make sure that your wife's return and that there isn't a mistake on her on regular return that is done correctly, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because it is a significant amount of work, Carlos, and as a matter of fact, it's not just additional work, there's manual work, there's potential phone calls, there's a higher propensity of audit. Will it be helpful if I walk you through the process so you understand exactly what the work is done to make you feel a little bit more at ease that this should cost money and shouldn't be included for free?
Just send me the bill, Hector. I'll pay it.
But again, just trying to address, I think it's important to address that quickly.
Yeah.
Carlos, you be the accountant. So that was a scope creep. The other one that came up a lot is, and you did the example of unresponsive client. Let's do price increase. So you be the accountant, I'll be the customer.
Okay. So am I verbally communicating that price increase, or are you calling me to saying?
It's a phone call.
Okay. Hey, Hector. Happy New Year. How did the holidays go?
Hi, they went great. Thank you for calling me. I'm ready to get my taxes done.
We're excited to take you on as a client. So one of the things I wanted to follow up on, since I didn't get a response, I had been sending you some communication about our firm's, leveling up, how we're gonna, help you throughout next year. And part of that was the communication about your new price for 2025. So have you gotten a chance to look at that? And if so, will you be continuing, your engagement with us so that we can get started?
So Carlos, thank you for calling me. So I was contemplating do a little price shopping because my situation really hasn't changed. Like I've been at the same job and it's I still have the same number of kids. I feel my tax return is kind of like cut and paste from last year, just plug in the new numbers. And you going from 500 to 900, it just didn't feel right. Now, don't get me wrong. I think you guys do a fantastic work. I love the work that you do, but it was a bit of a price shock. So I was kind of hoping that didn't apply to me. But it sounds like you are going to increase my price almost double. So that's why I'm not 100% sure if I continue want to work with this price.
Yeah, I think that's a fair concern, Hector. I guess I'm curious, what do you understand about the recent changes that are taking place with the new administration around navigating some of the new, tax and other components that go into, helping you make sure that you maximize how you file your tax return and minimize, penalties and make sure that you are within compliance?
Not familiar, but that's why I hire a professional, right? Because
Sure.
you do all that, and I assume you did that last year, right?
Yeah,
Or 4 years ago when there was a new administration. So I'm not sure how that's different now.
that's right. And you said you've been shopping around a little bit with others, and what's been your experience, in looking elsewhere?
I haven't, like I said, I'm considering shopping around. I
Okay,
haven't shopped around yet.
got it. And how has your experience with me been so far in the last, few years that we've worked together? Have I delivered, value to with the service that I provided with you?
You have, don't get me wrong. I think you did great service. I was already paying $500, which I thought was a little elevated anyway, but I was paying that because of our relationship. It's just a big price shock for me to go from 500 to 900.
I see. Okay. Um, one of the things that you may want to consider doing when you do shop around is understand, the market and what goes into some of the components of doing your tax returns. Our business model is built so that we can deliver to you accurate and make sure that you get the best level of service. We have increased how we protect your data and, helping you make sure that you get the best out of your investment. Just imagine being able to speak at the end of, tax return season, and we have a conversation, and you realize that once we have the end of that conversation, we were able to get you all the benefits that you wanted, that by making sure that you stay compliant, with your business, and to have clarity in your numbers and your tax strategy, and making sure that you're filing on time and you're filing within everything you want. As a matter of fact, I also consider, how would it feel if you did change everything and now you have to start with a new accounting professional that may charge you somewhat similar to what I charge, because that this is about on par with what tax services go for based on your scenario? And how would you feel if they drop the ball and they don't keep clear communication, and maybe they change the price on you without you letting you know, or maybe they don't file on tax not on time? Not saying that that will happen, but how would it feel if that transition scenario may end up costing you more than, staying with someone that's been reliable and that has always delivered more value than what you've provided? So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you, and I get all that. I just don't understand how my situation hasn't changed and it's going up almost double, right? So like I get that you guys are probably better than everybody else, and I believe you when you say it. But my situation hasn't changed enough from my perspective for it to go up so much.
Okay. Could it be possible that maybe we can circle back and kind of do a preliminary review of your situation, just to kind of make sure that that's 100% on par and you can feel comfortable before you accept moving forward with us, so that you kind of understand the value you're getting out of what it is that we're talking about?
Okay,
Or
I'm comfortable with doing a review and double checking, making sure the price is accurate.
okay. Um, is price really your only concern in moving forward, or is it something else?
It's price.
What else do you value beyond just price and working with me as a professional? What do you value in having a relationship with a tax professional?
I value everything you've done, getting it done on time, easy to communicate via email. You give me the electronic signature on the portal. I found it's been very easy to work with you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think $500 is a fair price.
Okay. Um, well, what I welcome you to do, Hector, at this point is to go ahead and shop around, find something that you feel is fair for you. That this will be my price, because that's the way my business model is built, to make sure that we keep you securely compliant and that we give you the highest level of service. And if you're looking for something that's just cheaper because that you value, having, something that fits within your budget, I respect that.
Okay. I thought we were gonna do a review call to discuss my
Yeah,
benefits.
we could do that as well if you're still open-minded to that.
Okay. All right, yeah, let's do that. Let's do
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Again, everybody has a different style, but Hector, for a client who only cares about price, I would just tell them
Sure.
go fly a kite.
Right,
Go
right.
fly a kite is an option, or we can
No,
review
that's true.
that.
That's true. The only part I would sort of maybe kind of critique about that
Go
is
for it.
not necessarily critique, but there was sort of a change of direction there. One is the customer was like, I was acting very, very price sensitive. And then
Mhm.
I heard you do the review call mostly so you can give yourself a time to breathe. Like it almost felt like, I think I need a time for me to breathe and just kind of catch up, maybe look
Right.
at this account, maybe gather some facts, maybe go, maybe try to see things from the customer's perspective, and then set up another call where maybe we teach them everything we do, or maybe there's benefits to the work that the customer is not taking advantage of. Maybe the customer doesn't know that the portal is something that not every accountant has, or
Right.
see communications, or whatever. Like it is possible that the customer is so fixated in price that they didn't have eyes, they had the blinders up to the other stuff, and you were trying to set up like sort of a reset. Hey, let's reset, let's do a call where maybe you can take control back at the conversation.
That's right. Yeah, that was an option. But the moment, again, this is just me reading the moment. If a client is going to continue to say 500 is a fair price and price is all I value, and price and price and price, then at that point, when I hear price 3 times, there's no perspective to be changed. Like, so again, everyone has a different tolerance, but chances are if you raise your prices on this client again, the following year, it's going to be the same conversation. And
Yeah.
so again, if the client would have been like, you know what, I am open to the call, let's do that, and the kind of interaction would have ended, then I would have ended it there. So,
Right.
but you
Yeah.
do have clients who are like that.
Oh, totally. I was channeling literally a client that just kept
Right.
saying $500 is the only fair price they would ever pay for a
Sure.
tax return, no matter what I said.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
what.
The other thing is, and this is just good prep, and this is, a critique on myself, is I have zero context of which client you were channeling, Hector.
Correct.
You had all the context.
Right.
If I would have done the work before the work and I
Right.
would have known the details, I would have been way more prepared for that
Right.
conversation. Because the
Which
worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment you're going to say it. And you caught me in an unprepared moment.
which is why I found it particularly valuable how you were trying to get an exit ramp out of the conversation to say, hey, you know what? You're right. Maybe this requires a thorough review. We went in there and we increased the prices across all of our customers indiscriminately to whatever we think the right price is. I would love to have a conversation with you on Friday at 2 p.m. for 15 minutes. I'm gonna go back and double check the work, and then we can have a quick conversation. It gives you a chance to prepare. Like maybe maybe you do need to prepare with what are the points of value that you create for them. Maybe in this particular case, Carlos, you had no context. You're not a tax preparer yourself, but maybe in a firm, maybe you're not the one doing the work every day. Maybe you got to go back and talk to Steve or Mary or Bobby or whatever, who interacted with a client 6 months ago, and there was some additional context there that could be valuable for you to come back and to have just a more round conversation with the customer.
Yeah, Hector, there was a question from Laura saying, is there a time that you would give an increased price, but then go back down on it? Is that your experience? That's something where you made that exception?
So before you call someone with a price increase, you need to write down in a piece of paper, what's the lowest price that you would ever go, would you back down to keep this customer? You gotta like almost do that prior. Hopefully, then price matches the same price you're giving, so you don't back down. Or write down in a piece of paper to say, look, I want to do the same exact service for this client. Now it's going to be 900 versus 500. However, I want to give them an option that is 550 that has a reduced scope. So I would like to have that already pre-thought about. Again, the worst time to think about what you're going to say is right before you're going to say it. Don't on the spot workshop a smaller deal for them. That's terrible. And they're
Right.
anchoring you instead of you anchoring them. So what you can do is you say, hey, for some of our clients that are price sensitive that we do want to keep and want to continue helping, we do have a special where it's only 550, same exact work, but we're going to do it on extension. We won't get it done by April. We'll do an extension. That way that gives us time to work on it on June or July or whatever. What we do advise is that you pay by April, $46,435, the same amount that you paid last year, prepay it. Even if it's over, you're going to get a refund. If it's under, we don't know what's going to be until we prepare it. You'll pay a penalty on that difference. So if you don't think it's going to be higher than that, then let's lock you in at 550. which is only 10% increase from last year, but we'll get it done by July. Are you comfortable with that? Or do you still want to pay the 900 and get it done by March? So like I would pre-plan what is the lowest amount that I would do to keep this customer. And then on top of that, what would I remove, right? Because the problem is, if you don't remove something from it, next year you're gonna have the exact same conversation and you're gonna lose them anyway. So next year, when you know what, I don't want to wait until July. I like getting it done by March, like we usually do. I'll pay the 900 or whatever. I'll make them make the decision then. So Laura, hopefully that answers your question. Is yes, I wouldn't back down. I would lower the scope. That's what I would do. Okay.
Great.
All right. We wanted to keep this under an hour, and it's already an hour. So maybe we can do one more example on just kind of bonus example for the prospects. So one of the prospects was one of the questions for one of the critical conversations was the customer asking technical questions in the middle of a call. So maybe Carlos, I'll be the accountant, and then we'll do that. So
Okay.
So I'll
Sure.
answer.
So, hey, Hector, how are you?
Hey, Carlos, how are you?
Good, good. I have a
Good.
technical question about QuickBooks inventory. I have the enterprise.
Well, hold on, Carlos. It is a sales call. It is a sales call. So you're gonna first ask to hire me for consulting, and then right there throw the question.
Got it. I'd like to hire you for consulting for fixing some things in my QuickBooks.
Sure.
Is that something that you offer?
Yeah, we do. Absolutely.
Okay. So initially, my biggest issue is I'm trying to understand how to get specific types of reporting for QuickBooks Advanced so that I can understand my inventory at a detailed level.
Yep.
And what happens is I manufacture a whole different types of parts, but that I have subparts. And so I need to know, is there a way, if you can like tell me, where can I find, menu options where I can create parts that I can have specific SKUs and inventory items? And could you show me real quick what that would look like? And if so, then maybe I could bring you on to maybe answer some more questions.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. So Carlos, you're absolutely right. QuickBooks Enterprise can do that type of work, or whichever version you said, right? So QuickBooks Enterprise can do that type of work. And that's actually something we've had experience with in the past. We can jump straight into a training session if you like. We can convert this discovery call into a training session. I actually happen to have an hour, and that's going to be $575. Or maybe you can ask me all the questions, and then what I can do is I can respond via email whether or not those questions will be answerable, guaranteed to be answerable during the training session, and then we can schedule the training session for later on. I find that trying to answer technical questions during a sales call, it almost never goes the way we want to, because there may be some additional context that I need to learn. I need to understand the type of parts that you have, how you had inventory in the past. Is the inventory accurate? How are you selling them? Who are you selling them to? How are you processing them? So it would be very presumptive of me to try to give you an answer without having all that context, which will require the formal diagnostic or an actual training session. So you want to convert this one to a training session, or do you want to?
How much is it again?
$575.
Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah. So the way we work is we guarantee that we will answer your question. So that's priced in. That's priced in. Now, you think that's expensive? What's your experience with working with QuickBooks Enterprise consultants that specialize in manufacturing in the past?
Honestly, you're the only person I know that does that. So,
okay. Well, how would you feel if you work with someone that guarantees their work?
Well, I didn't know that, so I guess that's fair.
Right. Okay. So you want to schedule that now, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you for being easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. But yeah, that's just really important. Like, you have to understand people's experience first, because their experience is their context for what's expensive, right? Expensive. When somebody says that's expensive, what they're really saying is, within the maximum amount of information that my ignorant brain has, the context that you have given, the context that I have, the context you understand, versus what I feel something should cost is too high. right? So
Mhm.
all this
Yeah.
stuff is one-sided. All this concept, when somebody says it's too expensive, it's all problems that are happening on the other side. They're not in your side, right? Because the reality is the work that we do, the value of the work that we do only exists after we do it, right? It doesn't exist while we're selling it. So it's almost impossible to guarantee the value of the work, to have a guarantee value of the work during the conversation. So really the best way to do it is to offer a guarantee, a money back guarantee. And some will abuse it, but for the most part, it won't. So thank you very much. In the slides, we have another slide here, which has the matrix, is a critical conversation magic phrase matrix that gives you a good guidance on how to work with almost all these objections. One thing that we strongly recommend for anyone that's learning how to become a better communicator, a better salesperson, somebody handling conversations better, building better relationships, is to get more reps. Best way to get more reps is to talk to more customers and more prospects. But if you feel that you're losing some, or that they're asking for discounts, or you're not closing enough, then what you want to do is you want to get reps with other accounting professionals practicing the same thing, which is why Carlos and I recommend doing masterminds. And we have something called the Reframe Society. And Carlos, you want to chat about that?
Yeah, I mean, the society is really a monthly membership where you get to access live group coaching with myself, and sometimes Hector will join, and we'll teach some deep thought lessons around pricing, communication, business processes, technology, automation, AI, mindset, just all the things that a firm practitioner is struggling with, and maybe you're kind of on this lonely journey, and it's hard for you to know how to soundboard, how to make these major decisions to either, scale your firm or run your firm more efficiently or navigate difficult changing circumstances. And this is a great, very supportive, very generous community of people who are kind of in the same scenario. Some who can add value and share their experience because maybe they're in a different chapter, and others who are maybe in your scenario that are kind of struggling through the same things, and you can navigate through that together. And if you're not sure if you want to be part of this, I am offering a complimentary fit call, which is just 30 minutes for me to walk you through what the online community looks like, which I can share my screen very briefly. We were going to have all our scheduled events, and you're going to have exclusive access to log in via a portal where you'll be able to look at the Exactly What to Say course. You're going to be able to see some of the keynotes from Reframe of last year. You're going to have a chat with people, get to talk and ask questions. We're going to have a lesson hub where we're going to be posting all of our monthly lessons. And then we also have the archived videos from our former community that was called Alt Accountant, but still has all the same concepts. So we have hours and hours of video resources all about asking questions, how to automate, how to delegate, how to be a better communicator, how to level up your business model, how to sell pricing increase, how to level up your personal branding, how to attract and retain client, how to let go of free consulting. So we have a tremendous amount of resources for you to take your business to the next level. So if you're ready to do that, join us. If you're not sure, join on a call with me, and I can learn more about your goals and see if it's a fit for you. But with that, thanks for joining today. And Hector, I'll turn it to you for closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. So I put the links in the chat if you are interested on joining Reframe Society or setting up a call with Carlos to kind of ask more questions about exactly what the monthly mastermind and sessions are. And our final recommendation is get the book if you don't have it already. I think everybody watching this live in Zoom has it, but the people watching the recording afterward, get the book, get the implementation guide, get the role play cards, find a friend, find a buddy, watch this video again, practice all the critical conversations. The worst time to think what you're going to say is right before you're going to say it. So put the work before the work, get prepared and practice. And I guarantee you up your communications, you up your prices, you up your profit, you up your happiness, you up the level of value you give to your clients. It's all a positive upcycle. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in the next session.